The rumble of the motorcycle echoed across the dusty back road. As the sun bled gold over the horizon, it was the kind of evening that carried ghosts in its silence, the kind that reminded people of what they'd lost. Jack Raven Dalton, a grizzled Hell Angels biker with decades of road scars etched into his skin, killed the engine and wiped the sweat from his brow. His hands, marked with tattoos and time, were trembling slightly, not from weakness but from the weight of memories he had been riding for hours, searching for something he couldn't name. Maybe redemption, maybe peace, but peace had never come easy for a man like Jack. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's keep spreading stories that remind the world that even the toughest hearts can heal. Jack's bike had been making strange noises all day, a metallic growl that worsened with every mile. When he spotted a small mechanic shop near the edge of town, he rolled in, gravel crunching beneath his boots. The shop was old, the kind that smelled of oil, dust, and fading dreams. Few bikes sat outside, stripped for parts, and the warm light spilling from the open garage hinted at someone still working inside. He parked and dismounted, stretching his aching knees. Just then, a young woman in her early 20s stepped out of the garage, wiping grease off her hands with a rag. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders, streaked with sunlight, and her green work shirt was smudged from hours of labor. Jack was surprised. He hadn't expected someone so young, and certainly not someone so calm-looking to be running a garage. Need some help, she asked. Smiling faintly, he grunted, "Yeah. Think the clutch is shot?" She nodded, gesturing for him to wheel the bike closer. As she knelt to inspect it, Jack noticed her focus, steady, precise, and patient. He had seen many mechanics in his life, but there was something different about her. She wasn't just fixing the bike. She seemed to listen to it, almost like she understood its pain as they worked. The air grew easier. She cracked a few jokes, asked about his tattoos, and laughed when he told her one of his road stories. It was strange. Jack, a man who rarely spoke more than a few words to anyone, found himself talking. He told her how he'd been part of the Hell Angels for 30 years, how he'd lost most of his brothers to the road, to anger, or to regret. She didn't flinch at his stories. She just nodded, listening with that quiet kindness that felt almost foreign to him. When she asked about the wing tattoo on his chest, 2 red wings spreading across his skull, he grew silent. That tattoo wasn't just ink, it was a scar from another life. "That one," he murmured, his voice catching someone I knew designed it. "Someone I hurt." The young woman didn't pry, but her eyes softened. She looked like she understood after a while. She straightened up, wiping her hands. "Almost done," she said, smiling again. "You'll be back on the road soon?" Jack nodded, his throat tight for a moment, watching her in the light of the setting sun. He felt something he hadn't in years, warmth, the kind that was from whiskey, or adrenaline, the kind that came from being seen. Then she looked at the tattoo again and froze. Her hand trembled slightly. "Wait," she whispered. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Jack frowned, confused, but nodded. Her eyes were wide now, filled with disbelief. "That tattoo, those red wings, my older sister had the same design, same place." Jack's stomach turned to ice, his breath caught, and the color drained from his face. "What did you say?" he asked hoarsely. She took a step closer, her voice shaking. "My sister, Emily, she used to ride with a biker years ago." Said his name was Raven. Jack stumbled back as if struck. His world tilted. The name Emily tore open a wound he'd spent decades burying. He remembered her now. The laughter, the arguments, the night he left her crying in the rain, shouting that she'd never forgive him. He had loved her more than the club, more than the road, but pride and anger had driven him to destroy it all. And later, when he tried to find her, she was gone, moved away, disappeared. He'd carried that guilt like a chain around his neck ever since he dropped to one knee beside his bike, his voice breaking. "Emily." The young woman's eyes softened, tears gathering as realization set in. "You knew her, didn't you?" Jack nodded, unable to speak. The memories poured through him like wildfire. Emily's smile, her voice, her tattooed wings that matched his. "She was the best thing I ever had," he whispered, "and I ruined her life." The girl knelt beside him, her hand trembling as she reached out. "She used to tell me stories about a man named Raven," she said quietly. "Said he was wild, broken, but had the kindest heart when he wasn't hiding behind his anger. She said he was the reason she learned to forgive, even when people didn't deserve it." Jack's chest ached. He had prepared himself for hate, but not for grace. "She forgave me?" he asked, almost afraid of the answer. The girl smiled through her tears. "She did. She said she hoped one day you'd forgive yourself. Too, for a long time, neither of them spoke. The sun had dipped low, casting a warm, golden glow over the garage, and the old Harley between them. Jack looked at the young woman, Emily's sister, and it was like looking at the part of his life he thought he'd lost forever. He stood slowly, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "You tell her sister's old ghost," he said softly, "that Raven finally stopped running." The young woman nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I think she already knows." Jack turned to his bike, the engine now fixed and ready, but for the first time in his life he didn't feel the urge to leave. He looked around the small shop, the quiet countryside, the kindness in the young woman's face. Maybe this was where the road had always been leading him, not to another highway, but to a place where he could finally make peace. That night, as he sat outside the garage watching the stars, he thought about Emily, the woman who taught him love, the sister who brought him redemption, and the road that had finally brought him home. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's remind the world that no soul is too lost to be found, and no heart too broken to heal. Special request, comment below. Do you believe people like Raven deserve a second chance? And with that, the engine of the old Harley roared again. Not in rebellion, but in remembrance. The road ahead was still long, but this time he wouldn't be riding alone.